What's going on, everybody? And I hope you're enjoying your Hump Day Wednesday so far. This is MYGGFT85 here, and the Mets have had one of the worst starting pitching staffs so far to begin this season. Right now, the starting pitching staff is pitching to over a 4 ERA on the season, and you've seen guys like Carlos Carrasco go down to injury. Jose Quintana pretty much miss what's going to be at least the first few months of the season. Max Scherzer gets suspended for 10 days, and even when he was pitching, besides one start, he was shaky at best. Justin Verlander, due to an issue with his shoulder, he's pretty much been out for the entire season. And then you're getting up and down performances from Tyler McGill, and David Peterson was off to such a poor start that he had to be sent down to AAA Syracuse in order to try to refine and fix up his mechanics. And you've seen guys like Joey Lucchesi and Jose Butto and Denyi Reyes have to come up from the minor leagues or come back from injury and fill in as spot starters. Well, Mets fans don't have to panic a lot more, hopefully, because the Mets seem to be getting some reinforcements on the way. As Buck Showalter, the Mets manager, said yesterday in his press conference that at least Carlos Carrasco is expected back into the starting rotation within the next 10 days going forward for the Mets. And the best thing and the best news of all, the Mets are going to be getting back both of their co-aces as Justin Verlander, who's been out due to an injury to his shoulder, and Max Scherzer, who's 10-game suspension after having some sticky rosin substance on his hands that he was suspended for at least 10 games for. Both of them are expected to be pitching in this series against the Detroit Tigers. When the first game yesterday was rained out, but the Mets are going to be pitching a doubleheader today, and it's going to be Joey Lucchesi pitching in the first game, and you're going to be getting Max Scherzer pitching in Game 2, and Justin Verlander will make his Mets debut in the regular season for New York tomorrow in Detroit. This is exactly what this Mets team needed. The bats have right now been getting it going. You've gotten good, solid production in the lineup so far from Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Brett Beatty. You've gotten Jeff McNeil hitting the ball pretty well now. You've also gotten contributions now from Francisco Alvarez. Francisco Lindor has been doing a pretty good job hitting the baseball. Obviously, you want to see Starling Marte and some of the other guys in this lineup start producing. But the one thing that has been holding back this Mets team so far has been the starting rotation because of the fact that you've been pitching a lot of guys that have either been in AAA or a lot of these guys that have been pretty much stashed in the minor leagues for the most part. And the Mets have really not gotten an opportunity to see what their true starting rotation is going to look like due to injuries and suspension. Now it looks like the Mets are going to be getting one step closer to seeing what this potential starting rotation could look like now that you're going to be getting Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander back from injury/suspension. And you know for a fact that could energize this Mets team just to get those two guys, those two big starting rotation guys and aces on the mound for the New York Mets. And even getting somebody like Carlos Carrasco back, who, yes, he has struggled at the beginning of the season, but Carrasco is still a very good veteran pitcher on this rotation, and he's going to be somebody that the Mets are going to have to count on going into the spring and summer months of this year because of the fact that the Mets don't really have a lot of depth in the starting rotation in terms of backup guys, because we've already seen David Peterson. He has not looked good at all so far in this season. Like I mentioned, he was so poor in the starting pitching rotation, he had to get sent down to AAA. And then you look at somebody like Tyler McGill. While he's had some moments, he's really been spotty at best, pitching a little bit over a 4 ERA. And like I've said, you've seen guys like Jose Butto, who's been spotty at first, as well as Denyi Reyes, who had a terrible start yesterday for the New York Mets, only pitching in 1 inning. So the Mets can use all the help they can get in that starting rotation. And even though the bullpen, for the most part, has pitched really well, David Robertson has been stellar so far this season, pitching to a .86 ERA for the New York Mets, and has had all of his save opportunities cleared so far. Drew Smith has pitched well. Adam Ottavino has done a good job. Brooks Raley has been solid before he went out with injury due to elbow inflammation. and you're getting good contributions from Jacob Yacobonis, among others, in that bullpen. But that bullpen is going to get burned out if you can't get reliable starting pitching and have your starting pitchers be able to eat up innings going forward for this Mets team. So the fact now that you're going to get both Verlander and Scherzer back is going to be an added bonus. And you already got Kodai Senga, who has had a couple of rough starts here or there, but he's, for the most part, been the best New York Mets starter so far this season. You know, now you're going to get back Carlos Carrasco. Hopefully he can rebound from what it's been a very rough start for him. And then you get back both Verlander and Scherzer added to that starting rotation. And it only could bring more positive outlooks for this New York Mets team going into the spring and summer months for the 2023 New York Mets. So hopefully this Mets team can be able to start getting the better production out of the starting rotation, because right now they're 16-13. The bats have so far been solid. Like I mentioned, you're getting contributions up and down that New York Mets lineup from Brandon Nimmo, from Brett Beatty, from Francisco Alvarez. Pete Alonso has been off to another good start. Francisco Lindor has been solid. Jeff McNeil is starting to play a lot better. You know, you obviously have some young prospects in Mark Vientos and Ronnie Mauricio that are chomping at the bit that could be the next two guys to be called up to the New York Mets organization. But at the same time right now, the Mets need to get better production out of that starting rotation, and it starts with the return of their two co-aces on this Mets team, and that's Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, who are both expected to be making their returns to the Mets rotation and be involved in pitching in this series against the Detroit Tigers. And the Tigers are one of the worst teams right now in Major League Baseball. So this is a perfect time for both these guys to come back and really assert themselves as two of the better pitchers once again in Major League Baseball by going out there and doing a solid job against the Detroit Tigers team that, let's just be honest, is not that good. And this is a perfect opportunity for the starting rotation to start not only getting healthy in terms of their overall health of the rotation, but just getting healthy in terms of playing against competition and really getting this starting pitching staff back to where the New York Mets have wanted it to be when they signed Justin Verlander in the offseason, when they signed Kodai Senga. Obviously, Quintana, we're going to have to wait until we get into at least the July, August months later on in the season. And hopefully Carrasco can come back and do a better job coming back from injury, and he could pitch a lot better for the New York Mets as we continue into this 2023 Major League Baseball season. But I just want to give you guys a little update. The Mets are expected to get Verlander and Scherzer back for the series against the Tigers, and Carrasco is expected to be back within the next 10 days, according to Mets manager Buck Showalter. Hit that like button if you haven't already, and give us a sub to NYGJFET85. More news, updates, and chatter surrounding the New York Mets. Turn on the bell for notifications on the next video or short dropping on the channel surrounding the New York Mets. And you guys let me know in the comment section what you think about the return of Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer to the New York Mets starting rotation for this upcoming series against the Detroit Tigers, and Carlos Carrasco being on the way as well within the next 10 days, according to Mets manager Buck Showalter. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Hump Day Wednesday. Take it easy, and let's go New York Mets as always. All you got to do is you got to believe in those boys from Queens.